Hello. This episode of Music in Mind is a conversation with the bassist, multi-instrumentalist, producer, composer, songwriter Chris Thigpen. Chris and I have a conversation about what it means to be a musician during the COVID pandemic, what life as a producer is like, the gigging world, and other related topics to being a professional working musician today. But before we get to that, please remember to leave a comment, and subscribe to my channels. And if you would like to consider supporting my content generally, please consider visiting my Patreon page. Welcome to Music in Mind with Anthony Caulkins. Hey everybody, this is Chris Thigpen. He's a bassist, drummer, producer, multi-instrumentalist, touring, gigging musician, plays in sort of all sorts of different realms of music, from pit orchestras to pop music to R&B to jazz. So just a really impressive guy all around. And I was directed to him by Alma Cook, who was on the podcast a couple of months ago. And she sent me some music that you two had recorded together. And actually, what was the song? Queen. And I remember listening to it, and the guitar part, I was like, is this played by a bass player? Because like the bass line comes out so strongly in that recording. I loved it, and it's so clear. And I was like surprised that a guitar player would play like that.
Yeah, that's what she told me. She was saying, because she had told me about you as well a couple weeks ago, and she was saying like that you had like the guitar voicings or whatever. Because he's like, yeah, the bass movement is so funny. Because I don't actually know how to play guitar. I'm basically just playing.
Well, it
I'm
sounds
just playing
like you
bass.
do.
Yeah, I'm just playing bass on guitar,
Right,
basically. So, yeah, it's a different kind of sound, but I guess I can like fool people into thinking I actually know how to play.
Do you record on guitar a lot?
Probably more than I should. I wouldn't say a lot, but it happens. I mean, that's definitely not the only song that I am on guitar for. I don't. I guess you would say I don't like professionally, play or record guitar or anything. But sometimes, like if I'm producing something, if it's like simple enough or I can fake it, like I'll end up, doing it basically. So there's a couple songs that I'm on.
Nice, very cool. So what's recording been like this year? Because like for all musicians, like this year has been insane.
Yeah.
Is it still going pretty strong, would you say?
I don't know about how strong it's going. It's definitely still going on. It's one of the more active things that is happening right now with everything being shut down. So yeah, people, it probably is like to a high degree because a lot of people are focusing on producing and putting out albums and or more so like making albums and making records and whatnot. So recording is still pretty going on. I know some studios are still open basically. So I've done quite a few things actually myself, and I know other people who have been doing a couple things. So yeah, I would say so. Yeah, recording is like still pretty good.
Nice.
At the time.
Is that like the main thing you're working on at the moment, or do you have live gigs going on?
I have done like maybe 3 or 4 live gigs since this whole situation started. Yeah. Mostly for me, honestly, it's been producing. I produced before, but I kind of recently, just kind of all of a sudden, like really got into it a couple months ago. So sorry.
No.
I just recently got into it a couple months ago, and that's really what I've been mainly doing. Kind of just here at the crib, like trying to figure stuff out and working with artists, trying to make their song come alive, basically. And also just kind of working on, I guess, some stuff for me as well. But yeah, mostly producing for me at the moment.
Do you see that as kind of the main role of a producer? I feel like a producer is this word in music that can kind of mean a lot of different things.
Yes.
And I feel like I've never fully pinned down what it means, but partially that's because I haven't quite been in the recording world in that way. But yeah, what does it mean for you to be a producer?
So for me, you're definitely right. Producer is probably, it might be the most like multi-meaning word now as far as in the industry is concerned. I'm old school. I'm a young guy, but I've always been like very, into old school music and like how they did it back in the day. So producer for me has always meant like a Quincy Jones type of vibe, basically. Like he is kind of what the word says. Like,
Right.
you produce the music, you produce a song.
Right.
Producing an artist, basically. And, depending on the level of the artist's talent and knowledge and whatnot, it's like, a lot of times, like for me, a lot of singers, they'll have an idea. Basically, they'll be like, hey, I have this idea in my head. I have like a sound, maybe. I have some lyrics or whatever. I have a melody, maybe. And they're just kind of like, but they don't really know a whole lot about music, or they can't play instruments, so they need somebody else to basically produce this idea that they have. So people like Alma, she's much more advanced and musically inclined, so she gives me way more to work with. She's great. She's like my favorite to work with, honestly.
You're pretty advanced.
Huh?
You're pretty advanced.
I know what I'm doing and whatnot, but as far as like from an artist, like Alma, every artist that comes to you isn't gonna have ideas that are as formulated.
I see. I see what you mean.
Basically, so like sometimes I've gotten just like somebody was singing on an iPhone, just like here's the melody basically, and then be like I kind of wanted to sound like whatever kind of reference they give me, just kind of make that a song.
Yep.
Somebody give you something and to be like, oh, I wanted reggae or I wanted pop or whatever kind of things like that. But for me, I've always seen producer as taking an idea and making it a song, basically.
I see.
Adding the layers to it, adding the instrumentation, the arrangements, hits, stops, little things like that. Just to get across their idea the way that they're trying to get it across, basically. Because you also have, you have people who are just kind of like, and I mean, I do that too, just, making tracks or making beats and whatnot. So yeah, they still produced as well. But for me personally, my most like frequent way of doing it is, the artist has an idea and you take that idea and produce it into a song, basically.
Yeah, I like that idea that it's kind of sort of an omni role. It isn't specifically a composer, and it could be. I mean, it involves composing and it involves arranging. Mm-hmm. It isn't specifically a recording engineer, but it probably involves a lot of things like that, and being a performer and kind of existing at this sort of omni level of the creation of the music rather than a particular
with the rise of like with all the new technology that's going on, like it's like super easy now for everybody to kind of do everything. Back in the day, things were very much separated. Like if you were the producer, you weren't mixing, or you weren't the engineer, you weren't doing this, and you had a guy that was doing that. Everybody's basically in the studio, like working this stuff out. Where now, you got people who are, they produce, they engineer, they mix, and the whole nine, like play on it and everything. I definitely am not versed in the engineering world at all. Like I have, people that I go to for that who's much smarter. So I just kind of like tell them, like, hey, do this. Like I want it to sound this way.
Man, mixing is hard. I'm so bad at it. Every time I try, I just I hate this.
Yeah, I barely even try. I just try to adjust the levels to the point where it's like, okay, I can hear stuff. Like, that's fine. And then just make somebody else like, hey, make this sound like it's supposed to sound.
Yeah, I mean that's what you have to do. Actually, I was talking with Alma about that on our podcast also. Is an important piece of sort of building your career is knowing when to start to distribute jobs and not try and take on everything.
Absolutely. That's one of the things that I think that I am one of my best skills or attributes or whatever is just knowing when I need to not do something, and I have no problem like delegating and finding somebody. And luckily, I just happen to know like a bunch of great people. So whatever it is that's needed, I definitely know somebody who will definitely come through and get what needs to be done like the right way, basically. So that's always been something that I've been very proud of, just having that access to people.
Very for that. It's important. I'm terrible at it. I try and do everything myself.
Oh, really?
Well, it's interesting with you, since you kind of have that multi-instrumentalist thing, since you record and play professionally on bass and drums and guitar, and it seems like keys maybe a little too.
It's kind of the same thing with guitar. Like I don't really know how to play. I'm just kind of like BSing a little bit, kind of manipulating the instrument to, make it seem like I know how to play. Or
but you're taking on those roles, and you're comfortable and proficient enough to be able to say, I can do drums, I can do bass, sure, I can do guitar or something like that.
Bass and drums I can definitely do.
Okay.
Guitar and piano it has to be very simple,
Uh-huh.
very simple. Because I will tell you first, I do not know how to play guitar or piano. I know piano players, I know guitar
Sure,
players,
of course.
and not even a little bit can I do that.
Yeah.
So it depends on the difficulty of the track.
Yeah, of course.
Much more simple one. Yeah, if I can do it myself, obviously I'm gonna try to keep that in house. But a lot of the stuff that I do, at least at the current moment, sometimes it requires a lot of a more advanced musician than I'm able to be on those instruments, and especially since like me as a musician and a producer, I know what I want it to sound like,
Right.
but I also know like I can't achieve that basically.
Sure.
So that's when I have to branch out and hire out people to play guitar and piano.
Yeah. Well, do you feel like being a bass player helps you to be able to take on those roles, though? Because I feel like the bass exists in an interesting place in music because it serves rhythmic and harmonic functions conceptually. But the fact that you're playing on a fretboard and you're playing lines, there's also an inherent melody in there. So it exists in sort of the space of all three. And so branching into those areas might be easier.
Yeah, I've never thought about it that way as far as like being able to play, either instrument better. But absolutely, like for bass, so many bassists are actually, especially I'm from Chicago, and so many bassists from Chicago are actually drummers first, which was my story as well.
Cool.
Like I played drums since I was like 2. I just started playing bass till I was around 16. And that's a very common thing that like so many bass players are like, oh, like I was a drummer first, and then I just switched over to bass.
Why is that? Why do you think this
combination of so especially in Chicago, like everybody is a drummer. Everybody wants to be a drummer, and there's so many incredible drummers. So yeah, I think some of it is a little bit of it is like the competition or whatever, just kind of like everybody is trying to play drums, so there's not always enough room for people to be a drummer or to get drum gigs or to even just be able to play, whether they're growing up or in church or just out and about. Right. And obviously drummers have such a close knit relationship with bass,
right? Of course.
So I think it probably just makes sense that it would be the next thing you would gravitate to. Like whenever you're playing drums, you're always like interacting with the bass player. So I guess if you were going to play something else, it would happen to be bass. Because bass and drums are, I mean, obviously they're two separate instruments, but I've always seen it as it's kind of like one instrument.
Yep.
Like
actually,
me as a
I
bass
see it with
player,
guitar too.
Yeah, guitar is actually, I don't know how to play it, but it's actually my favorite instrument.
Wait, really? That's the worst.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
I love the guitar. I think it can do, it's funny, all the instruments I can't play are pretty much my favorite instruments.
I feel the same way.
Guitar is my favorite, then piano is my second favorite.
Yeah, bass and drums for me.
Yeah.
Piano too. And I hate guitar.
Bass and drums are cool, but yeah, guitar, if I could play guitar and piano, I would definitely, and I'm trying to learn. So it's kind of harder as an adult to try to like start from scratch and like learn an instrument, but
yeah, it's I was in college. I was like, I'm gonna learn bassoon, and I was really really bad at it, and I did like 2.5 years of lessons, and I gave up because I was already good at guitar, and it's that thing where you have to be bad. You have to really suck for a while and not resist it too much. Like you have to just let yourself be bad for like 5 years.
Yeah, it seems so mundane. I'm just sitting here just going through these scales. I can't even, like, I play way, way more than scales, like very easily on bass. And now I'm on the other two instruments trying to like sit here, literally can't even play like a D scale, like, within like 10 seconds. So
but the guitar at least is conceptually very similar.
Yeah, the guitar is going to be, I wouldn't say significantly. I'm further along on guitar than I am on piano because they're so closely related to bass and whatnot, fretboard and whatnot. It's just those two strings, and trying to incorporate those two strings is like.
And then the tuning is different again.
Yeah, it's like why are you guys here? Like why couldn't it just be the same thing as the bass but just higher? But there's a law of it, and I haven't learned the law yet.
The law.
Yeah. That's what my father taught me. Like there's a music is, language and whatnot. Each instrument is just a tool,
right?
Basically, to be able to, just a way to kind of communicate that language. So a tool, it has limits. It has a structure basically. So each instrument has a law to it. And like once you learn the law of the instrument, so like I already know music.
Right.
And we know music. So if we know music, we understand that. If you learn the law of an instrument, then you can take music and you can, express it understanding that law. So I understand the law of the bass, I understand the law of the drums. I'm starting to begin to like try to learn the law of piano and guitar. And so really anything that I am doing on instruments like piano and guitar is really more of an understanding of music, not an understanding of those instruments.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's the piano and the guitar. It just seems so massive, and it seems like this like huge undertaking that you'll never be able to like accomplish. Basically,
I think piano for sure. I think I see guitar as also part of the drums, just like you were talking about the bass and that connection. And it's like there's the cliche that like the kick drum and the bass are inherently connected, but I sort of see the bass as being sort of the pitched harmonic world of the kick drum that can extend it, and the guitar is like the pitched harmonic world of the snare that can extend it.
Yeah, no, guitar and snare is definitely correlated.
Right, because the boom chick. So the bass is the boom and the guitar is the chick. And it's just that it's like that simple, but like and then expanding it as far as you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, I would probably understand that more if I played guitar or pay attention to it more. But absolutely, the guitar is absolutely the chick.
Even your recording on Queen, the way you're doing it, I feel like you're treating the guitar like a bass and a drum in a drum set or something like that, because you even have that like slap guitar thing going on.
Yeah, because whenever I'm, you hear, I guess I hear the whole band in my head. So then when you're just one instrument, I guess you're trying to like somehow accomplish a whole band basically being there. So yeah, trying to provide rhythm and the chord structure and the bass of it. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, like Segovia, the like famous classical guitar player, always said the guitar is just the whole orchestra in your hands. And so for him, he was conceptualizing it like an orchestra, but he was like, you have the violins and the flutes, and then you have the basses and cellos and violas.
Yeah, but that's the thing about guitar. That's why it's my favorite. I think the guitar is the only instrument that can literally do everything. Like, bass.
But guitar players are the worst musicians of all time.
A good guitar player is the best musician.
Think about how many bad guitar players you've worked with. Come on.
Yeah, but I just don't consider. I'm a bit of a. I don't know what to like. What's it called? It's like a PG show or
a what?
Your show is it like a PG show? I don't know how you feel about
say
like
whatever you want
and whatnot. Yeah, I'm a bit of an asshole, and especially when it comes to things like music, I take it very, very seriously.
Yeah,
and there are people who, I guess it's a difference between a musician and somebody who plays an instrument.
Right.
Like to me, there's a difference. So just because like you pick up a guitar or you pick up a drum or whatever and you just kind of like do things, or you can, do this and here, like, okay, like, yeah, you play the guitar, but I wouldn't necessarily call you a musician if you don't actually like understand music. So anybody who's a musician who is playing guitar, I mean, they're some of the best, musicians, I would argue. Obviously, that's not majority of guitar players because guitar is such a, mainstream instrument for people to just pick up and just kind of start doing whatever. And that's great. But yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit of a purist or whatever you want to call it in that kind of way.
But like you've been on the pit orchestra scene, right? Like you toured with the Color Purple, right? That first of all, that's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we can talk about that. But like when I do pit orchestra gigs and stuff, I feel like, especially on a good gig, like wind players are usually solid and like their reading is there, and like keys players are usually really good. And I feel like guitar players, even on pretty high-paying gigs, can be really iffy.
Really?
Maybe not.
I mean, it's.
I know a lot of really good guitar players also.
Well, yeah. I mean, any instrument can have some whiffy players on a high-level gig. I mean, it definitely happens. It's the industry. I don't know so much about like pit musicians as far as like the image aspect, but definitely like in the pop world, like image is such a huge thing. So you absolutely will have, not up to par players having, really great high paying gigs and whatnot. As far as pit musicians, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I've definitely come because when we were tour, we had to pick up different
Right.
musicians sometimes in the city, and we definitely dealt with our fair share of questionable guitar players. It wasn't on that tour because that particular tour, the guitar player always traveled with us, but there was a tour I did previously, and we ran into some. We had to hire a guitar too because it was two guitarists for that show, and there were some questionable guitar players on that tour.
Yeah.
But it happens on every instrument, I guess. Yeah. And you just gotta suck it up and just go through those, performances as best as you can. But also, you get the you have the Avions, so you have like your own mix or whatever. So if it's that bad, sometimes you just kind of turn them down. Like, I'm not gonna listen to that.
Yep. Cool. Do you like pit work?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It is one of my favorites.
Yeah, me too.
I've been very blessed or lucky in the sense of the kind of work that I've done. For some reason, I just like everything. There's a lot of players who are like, oh yeah, I do this, it's work, but I don't really like playing that kind of music. I don't really like doing that kind of gig. For me, I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. Like everything that I've tried, for some reason, I've really liked it. Whether it's studio work, live work, tour work, pit work, weddings.
But that's how you get gigs, and that's how you get good.
Yeah, I love it all. Yeah. And I think one of my favorite things about pit work is for pit musicians, you get to just play music. You don't have to really worry about stage presence and looking a certain way and dressing a certain way or, dancing a certain way and all of these kind of things. Like you just here's the music, I'm gonna play it. You gotta, and it's like a challenge. I love reading. Reading is actually one of my favorite things to do as far as music is concerned. If it's a reading gig, I'm pumped.
Hell yeah.
Because it's like a challenge.
Yeah.
And that's one of the kind of I don't know. For me, it's one of the only times you can fail at playing music.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love to read. And you get to do that as a pit musician, obviously.
That's true.
It's just the music. I love it. Yeah, it's one of my favorite types of work, absolutely.
Well, so you did the tour for The Color Purple. Have you done other big tours?
Yeah, I toured with Motown the Musical.
Oh, cool.
That was incredible. As a bass player, you get to, you get to play Motown music 8 times a week.
Yeah,
it's insane. I was literally on cloud nine. That was my favorite tour I've done. So that tour actually went on for a while, but I actually ended up catching the last half of it. So I only did it for about 4 or 5 months.
That's perfect.
Yeah, but it was. Man. I would have liked to have done it longer, honestly. Because I actually played it in Chicago before it toured. I was the sub. Bass player. One of the main guy who was doing it was my mentor, Chuck Webb, one of my mentors. He's incredible, just legend. Chicago. He was one of my mentors. Taught me so much, gave me so many opportunities. Honestly, it was him kind of the reason why I ended up on that tour in the first place.
That's always how it works. It's some connection like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So he was doing Motown the Musical when it was in Chicago. And whenever he wasn't able to do it, he would have me sub for him.
That's great.
And so that's how I kind of got in with that circle. I loved it. It's incredible. You get to play great music with great musicians. I could have played that show for quite a long time.
Wow.
And
that's special. A lot of shows, I feel like, at least for me, the idea of doing 2 years is pretty rough.
Yeah, I've done a year of one show, and so the Motown and the Color Purple, they were right after each other. I think I had 2 weeks maybe or something like that, a break in between. So literally for a year and a half, I was on tour, and yeah, so I've definitely done it. It can be rough. It depends on the music you're playing. It depends a lot of your bandmates, your castmates, and all of that kind of stuff. That has a huge part to do with how much fun or difficult it's going to be. I've been very, very, very lucky in both of those instances, I think. Had some great people around me. And, Motown, that was probably my favorite tour that I've done so far. I remember the last show, I was legit like crying,
Oh.
like legit crying during the show, like playing.
Was it
And
amazing
literally
though?
crying, huh?
Was it amazing? Sometimes those final shows of runs where like you're so emotional about it, like
Mm-hmm.
everybody's like kicked up to.
Yeah, we kind of kept our cool. I don't
Yeah,
think anybody was like you do it so many times. I think they had done
of
the show
course.
probably 400 times at that point. I had probably done it, over 100 times.
Yeah.
So it gets locked in,
Right.
honestly. And sometimes you got to be careful with that. The conductor and the music director of that show, Daryl Archibald, and he's incredible. He's one of my favorite people in the world. He's really done a lot for me.
Daryl Archibald.
And yeah, he's giving me like
I
you
know
probably
him.
you might know him because he's really big in like that community. But he's the one that called me
Okay.
for both of the tours, and he's great. He's hilarious, but he's tough. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna be on you. So I've grown like so much just being able to be under him and be around him.
Yeah, that's
I'm very
great.
grateful for him.
A good music director makes everything.
Yeah, and he's incredible. He had the command that he has like over the entire situation is something incredible to watch. Like I've always
That's what you want.
that. Yeah.
And then you can look to them if something's going wrong, and yeah.
and he will look at you if you do something.
But actually, I think that's better. Like, it's a thing that as I've matured as a musician, like when I was like 19 in my first pit orchestra gig playing like Evita or something, every time I'd make a mistake, I'd try and like hide. And I feel like now, if I make a mistake, I look dead at the director. And it's like, if I need help and they're available, like, it's like, I need to own what I did and then allow the fact that I'm in an ensemble situation to help me get out of it.
Yeah, as a bass player, that's probably one of the worst things. If you as a bass player, if you make a mistake, you cannot hide. Look, every single person in that entire situation knows that it was you.
They know, so then get out. So do what you need to do to fix it.
Yeah, and Daryl, he'll give you that death stare. It keeps you honest and it keeps you on your toes.
Oh yeah,
that death stare is nothing to mess with.
That's great. Yeah, man. That's cool. I miss pit orchestras. They haven't existed in.
I miss it a lot. I was actually supposed to play a show at the Dolby Theater, and COVID hit, and it was like, yeah, we're not going to do that show anymore.
Yep.
That was extremely unfortunate. I was very excited about that.
Man, that's too bad. Yeah. I was in the middle of a run of Sister Act. And
oh, were you really?
Yep, that one got.
Oh, so we probably know like a lot of the same people.
Yeah, probably. But cool. So that's like the pit world. What about the pop music world? Because that's actually not one that I know about. I have friends who have been involved in it, but it's never something I've found my way into.
Yeah, it is drastically different. Everything has its pros and cons, so I can't say like which one is better or worse, but it is absolutely, it's a different world. It's actually the world that I was kind of started out in, like more so doing like gospel things in Chicago and whatnot. Looking for the pop world basically, and it's super huge here in Los Angeles, obviously. Yeah, it's a lot of. They're both word of mouth, but the pop world is even way more like word of mouth, kind of just waiting on a call, from whoever it is. It can be all kinds of different things. It can be studio, live work, producing shows, tours, bars, clubs. I mean, it's all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's interesting, and it's funny. They're all small. Like it seems vast, but like the industry is like so small. Like you get in and you kind of just know everybody.
Yep.
Everybody knows each other, and yeah, it's a grind. It is absolutely a grind. It is absolutely a hustle. But if you do what you're supposed to do and you actually end up getting in, to where you want to get, it's very rewarding. It's extremely rewarding, and it's a lot of fun.
The touring versus in a pit orchestra setting versus like a big pop tour, I would imagine that the grind of touring feels different. Even
it's much more strenuous on a pop tour.
Yeah,
basically. I'm trying to think. I haven't really done like a big pop tour yet.
Okay. So the
But
stuff with Meghan Trainor, that wasn't like a full tour.
I haven't done a full tour with her
I
yet.
see.
It's been spot dates mostly.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah, but that type of travel is much more strenuous because with shows, especially if you're doing like theater shows and pit shows and whatnot, you're gonna be in the city for at least a week if you're doing a union show. It can be up to 3-4 months sometimes. You sit in the place basically. So you get to wherever you get to, you get in a hotel and like you are there for at least a week. So that is that's a lot less. Traveling, a lot less places to be. You only have to work like 4 hours a day. You have the whole day, and then you work.
That's awesome. You get to learn like new cities and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. You can explore all kinds of things versus a pop tour where you're going to be on a tour bus or a plane, and you're going to be in like literally 3 different cities in a week. Yeah, and sometimes you might not even get in a hotel. Like sometimes it's in a tour bus. You get to a place, you do the show, you have to get back on the tour bus. Yeah. So it is a lot. It's a lot faster and a lot more travel, but they're shorter generally. Like
that makes sense.
An average pop tour is going to last around anywhere between like 3 to 5 months. The big acts, they're going to tour for a while, like a year, 2 years, but that's like your Beyonce's, Bruno Mars, Sting, things like that, like legacy acts. But an average like pop tour is going to be somewhere between 3 and 5 months, basically. A lot shorter.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, the touring aspect. It's interesting how some musicians are really into it and like that the travel and the being on the go, and some musicians are just very like home base oriented.
Yeah, I think the older you get, the less you want to tour. That seems to be the general.
Sure.
Like line of how it goes. Basically, when you're young, you just want to be like, oh man, I want to travel, I want to tour, I want to be on planes and buses and stuff. I remember when I was young, I couldn't wait until I could do a fly gig. I was like, man, when somebody flies me out, that's when I made it. I can't wait to be on planes and stuff and traveling on planes. And somebody calls me to whatever. I couldn't wait. Like I just like, and my father, he was a very professional musician, super successful. And he was always like, yeah, okay, son. He was like, you'll see. You'll get tired of it. And I was like, no, I won't. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's crazy. You get to fly to a place and do a gig and everything. And so, obviously, now, like, I do that. And done it for a couple, some time now. And it is funny because it does kind of get to the point sometimes now where it's like, can we just do this here, guys? Like,
can we just do this here?
Can we just do this here? Do we have to fly? Do we have to go places? So,
well, I guess the answer now is yes, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we have to do it here now, it seems like.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so you started in Chicago, you were saying. Did you study music there?
Yeah, I went to college in Chicago. So I started playing bass when I was 16 in high school. That's pretty much when I started
16,
really taking music seriously.
Yeah, same. It was about that same time where I kind of like focused.
Yeah. I don't know what it was. Like, I think some of it just like fell in love with the bass. Like I super fell in love with the bass. Like when I started playing bass, everything else stopped. I used to be an athlete, and I stopped playing all sports. I quit sports. Yep. I wasn't really doing a whole lot of hanging out. I, wasn't moving, exercise, anything. All I cared about was bass.
What about bands and stuff?
I mean, when you first start out, you're just learning, so you're not really going to be in a band like that. I started working pretty soon. I started working at a church, I think, like within my second year of playing bass. And then, started joining, the high school bands as far as like band and
were you like in orchestra and stuff
like that? Yeah, absolutely. But it took over my entire life. I just super fell in love with that instrument. And I guess it happened at a time where I was mature enough to actually take something seriously. So, yeah, that's all I cared about. Like, I'd wake up, go to school, be mad that I wasn't playing bass. I was like, why am I here at school? This is ridiculous. And then
that's
just
great. I dropped out of high school when I was 16, and I just stayed home and played guitar all the time. It was a very similar thing. I was just like, what am I doing? I just want to play guitar.
Wow. How do you feel about that now?
Well, it's fine. I mean, like I've gone to graduate school now, so it doesn't matter. But
oh, nice.
Yes.
Oh man, that's cool. That's a good story.
Yeah, but it's a similar. It was around 16, and it like clicked. I don't know if it was a maturity thing or like when you're 16, you have this ability to like obsessively focus on something. which I actually feel like I don't have as strong anymore. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
It's another reason it would be really hard for me to pick up a whole new like instrument.
Yeah, no, it's excruciating because not only the aspect as far as like, okay, you have to do something you suck at. And you haven't sucked at something in a very long time.
Right. Yeah, you
but
suck
also,
at everything at 16.
Yeah, and also you don't have other responsibilities.
Right.
So, people told me in college and high school all the time, like, practice, 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 because you're never going to have the time again.
Right.
Like, I remember when I was in college is like when I really kicked it up a gear, especially in the summer. In the summer of college, I was practicing at least 5-6 hours a day, and that was just like practice, not just like not having fun or gigging or working on rehearsing and that. Just literally practicing, and now like that's not even a possibility.
Right.
Maybe during COVID, but still, like you got bills, you got to work, you got to so even like finding time to practice these instruments that I'm trying to learn it seems like this huge impedance.
Yep.
In my day, but
well, that's the thing is like I feel like it's not exactly that you won't have time, but you won't make time anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you lose some kind of drive to practice.
Yeah, it's more so kind of balancing.
Right.
Like you have to work.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm like producing right now, so I have to spend time producing these tracks.
At least that work is practice that feeds in, because at least you're thinking music, you're hearing.
But it's not really helping me with not being able to play, piano or guitar.
Well, sure.
So yeah, like trying to.
Is that where you're going? You're good. Like I have to figure out how to become like a concert pianist.
Not concert pianist. I want to be able to. I want to be able to not hire out for piano and guitar. Basically, if I learn how to play piano or guitar, honestly, like. One, my producing will just become increasingly better.
Right.
And that's something that's important to me. But yeah, to not hire out, I'd be able to do things so much faster, so much quicker, more efficient, and make more money. and save more money. So that doesn't hurt.
That's the whole issue with like a solo act versus a duo and a trio, and as you add people, the money starts going down and down and down.
Absolutely.
And the hassle starts going up and like
100%. It's the industry is such a weird like graph of correlation of how things work. It's very interesting.
It's really weird because for me, music is about personal connection with people. That's like the basis of it. It's like what you're talking about music as a language. Like I want to feel like I'm connecting with people through music. So I like practicing and I like playing, but if it's just for me, it starts to lose a little bit of magic. So it's this interesting idea, like you're talking about, wanting to be able to do it all yourself, and then especially with COVID adding in, so we're all just sitting at home all the time. I feel like it really like bums me out because I feel like the musical connection side is slipping away. And then also, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but do you feel like people are listening to music a whole lot
at the current moment?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't. The part of me says I kind of wouldn't know. I feel like they are. I listen to music all the time to the point where I don't even realize I'm listening to music. Like it's just a thing that I do.
Yeah.
And some people say that it's probably not super healthy or whatever. I wake up and turn on music. There's if I'm not doing something or something else is going on, like I'm listening to music basically. As far as other people, I feel like they are, because I think music is just a thing that's just so embedded in people's daily lives anyway.
Right.
So I don't think that I don't know. I would feel like it hasn't really changed since COVID has happened.
Sure. Yeah, maybe not. I feel like it's been a long trajectory. I feel like there's this issue that music is everywhere, and we have access to as much music as we want all the time. And so that sort of devalues what music is in people's lives.
Yeah,
versus if you go back to like 1700s, like going to a concert is a big deal. There's no recordings, there's no nothing. And then that trajectory over time of music being everywhere to like you buy these albums and they're these special things. And this is your collection of albums. And this is the music you know and engage with. To now, like every store you go into is just blasting music at you.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. I think as soon as you add like a whole bunch of stuff to anything, whatever it is, it gets devalued. Yeah. Basically, it's kind of like social media, dating apps, and whatnot, all kind of things like that. Just so much opportunity. It's hard to, yeah, it super devalues it. I don't think it stopped people from or listening to music or brought that down, but probably their ability to appreciate actual music. I mean, how can you appreciate like a body of work? I mean, we don't even appreciate bodies of work anymore.
Yeah,
like, albums are almost not even a thing.
Yep.
Where back in the day it was a huge thing, but you had time to actually focus and learn and absorb that music, that information, that situation. Versus now, an artist releases a song and then they got a whole nother song out. Just that artist, but they're competing with 15 other artists that are also just coming out with stuff like all the time.
It's true.
So yeah, no, I think that it has devalued the music, which has actually kind of, in my opinion, kind of lowered the quality of music as well, because in a lot of, your music is music, but industry is industry. Uh-huh. So you have people that are, they have to put music out in order to make money or appease, fans and listeners and whatnot. So obviously that's kind of where fans and listeners are. So they kind of have to cater to that to a certain degree.
Yeah, it's just weird. I feel like it's like a breakdown in a relationship, maybe. Because like when Led Zeppelin puts out an album in 1968 or something like that, and then their fans all go and buy that album, there's sort of like a relationship there. And I think that that's still true to an extent. Like when Kanye puts out a new album, there are fans that are listening to it. I don't know. I feel like I can't quite put my finger on it, but I think that there is not as much of a relationship with fans amongst each other, and then like that triangular relationship with the artist, where like you go over to your friends.
Yeah, sorry. Not with the music. I think that some of that relationship has gotten replaced with social media.
Yeah.
So it's become, more about the person. Like people might not know so much about. Yeah, like people aren't paying nearly as much attention to Kanye West's music as they did when it was like, college dropout, late registration, graduation versus whatever it is now. But they're much more aware of Kanye West and everything that he's got going on, and what he's doing, and the Sunday service, and Kim and the Kardashians and everything. So it kind of shifted. The relationship kind of, I guess you could say the relationship kind of shifted for a lot of people away from music and more so about the person.
Right. So then what are we doing?
I mean, I don't know what they're doing. I kind of mind my business to a certain degree. Like, I love music. I got into music for purely musical reasons. It just became apparent and a possibility that like, okay, there's this thing that I love, and you're telling me that I can pay my bill with it. I think, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah,
like that's fine. So it's a work. So as soon as it's your job, it's not always going to be fun. But at the end of the day, like I play music.
Right.
Like about a little less than a year ago, I started. Just became really, really grateful to be a musician. And I was always grateful, but it really like vamped up over the past like 2 years or so. Like I paid my bills with music.
Yeah.
Like I told somebody, I was like, it's somebody else. I was just talking to them. They were just saying how things were kind of, difficult or rough, or it's not fun and whatnot. And I was like, well, it's work. Like it's not always going to be fun. But you have to think about this. We literally get paid money to do something that we pretended to do and imagined doing before we even understood the concept of currency. Like that's incredible.
Yeah.
Like when
you're getting paid to play, literally.
Yeah,
it's called
I did this
playing.
When I was 2 years. Right, it's called playing. Yeah, like when I was 2 years old, like that's what I did with my time. I like woke up and would put on like a videotape and just get all my play drum sets and play guitars and stuff set up in the living room and just do that.
Yep.
Like that was like fun. I had no concept of money or bills or currency, anything. It's just like this is fun and I'm gonna do it. And you're telling me now that I'm like an adult. Like somebody literally pays me money. Yep. Like that's insane. Somebody calls you and like, hey, remember that thing you did when you were 2? Yeah, you want to do that for money? I'm like,
you're like yeah.
Let's do that.
That's amazing. That's true. It's a really good way of putting it. I like that a lot. Cool. Well, do you want to play a little bit?
Oh yeah, sure. I guess I put this little. I just found a loop. Just kind of put it in the back.
Oh, sweet.
So I guess
I was actually thinking it might be fun. I was gonna go and grab my banjo.
So what's the delay like on these kind of situations?
It's terrible.
Oh, well then that might make it a little bit more.
I mean, it depends. I guess the question is how far out do you like playing? Because
as far as like like out.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not really a super out guy.
Right.
I've always been more of a. I guess you could say sort of simple in a way. But yeah, I've never really been one to be like a super out guy. I'm not really huge into avant-garde and things like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I won't subject you to that then. But
oh no, you're fine.
But I mean, we can try something because sometimes the delay kind of creates cool rhythmic things in and of itself, and if it doesn't work, we can scrap it.
Oh, I mean, it's up to you.
I'd be down, and then we'll see how it goes.
Cool. You want to try that first?
Yeah. Let me go grab my instrument. I'll be right back. So this instrument is interesting. It's from what we were talking about learning a new instrument as an adult. Because I was always a guitar player, but I got called like 4 times last year to play the show Bright Star. Do you know that show?
No, I don't actually. I'm not familiar.
It's a musical that Steve Martin wrote.
Oh, okay.
And it's like an intense banjo part. It calls for 2 different banjos. And I got called, like an emergency call 2 weeks before, which would normally be fine. But like they're like, okay, it's banjo. And I was like, okay, say yes and learn it.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
it was like, I could get fired. This could go bad.
Get prepared, basically. How'd it go?
It was good. I learned how to play.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a fun... It's kind of what we were talking about with the bass. What I like about it is it has the rhythm all mixed in with the style because it's boom chicka boom.
Right.
So yeah, if I could just set something up like that, and then if you just play over it, the rhythm will be kind of weird, but it'll be kind of cool as long as something is steady. I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like your drum loop or the banjo or whatever.
Yeah, I could just probably go off of you.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's not the sound you were imagining, but.
Oh no, I mean, I try to be versatile, so you just try to get in whatever you can.
Yeah. Well, let's try it. It's good because we're just meeting for the first time, and so like communicating and trying to communicate with music. We'll see what happens. All right. Yeah. So what do you think? How did it feel on your end?
I mean, it was fine for me, but I was just going off of your loop.
Right,
So
right,
for
exactly.
me, it sounded
Yeah.
fine. I'm not sure how it sounded over there on
Yeah,
your end.
yeah. I will we'll find out when I listen back and everything. But it's always hard to know with Zoom. But
Yeah, yeah.
have
They
you tried
somebody
any
like
like
a virtual
telematic
jam.
music things
One more time.
programs? Have you tried any telematic music programs for performing online or anything like that?
Meaning,
Like there's like some low latency programs so that you can perform in real time with
oh
musicians
no,
and
I
stuff.
haven't. I saw a video that Christian McBride had put up about. He said he found something where something was like low latency where he could like jam with jazz musicians or whatever. But no, I haven't tried
Okay.
anything.
Yeah, yeah. They're pretty neat. A lot of them are really hard to use
Mm.
because they're like there's some professors at UC San Diego and stuff have built these low latency programs, but most of them you have to open up at your terminal and like enter text commands to even run.
Yeah, see, that sounds very difficult.
They're not designed for uh, non-tech people, I guess.
Mm. Yeah, no, at that point, you probably just end up calling a friend or something,
Yeah.
just have them come over and play. I've actually
Um,
been able to play a little bit. They're doing it's a couple jams that are actually open, like outside right now. So
oh, cool. Like around
yeah, got a
LA?
chance. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like there's a growing movement of like also online music venues. I think there's a couple in Chicago, a couple studios in Chicago that have started
Mm.
creating kind of online music venues for artists to come in and play, and then the audience
Yeah,
sing
people
along.
have gotten creative. You kind of have to in these times.
Yeah,
But, yeah, that was something kind of cool. Like, there's a lot of innovation that happened like during this time of COVID and everything. People
yeah,
learning
that's
new
true.
skills. Yeah, so that's been actually kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, that was fun. I don't know. So you say you don't go super avant-garde. What kind of stuff is your favorite to play? What do you enjoy playing?
My favorite stuff to play is old school,
Yeah.
like old school and old school funk,
Oh,
70s.
cool.
I love 80s music. That's my like favorite kind of stuff to play, and
Uh-huh.
it can be like super simple stuff as well, like Fleetwood Mac or
Yeah,
um,
you have all those Fleetwood Mac uploads.
yeah, no, I love Fleetwood Mac. Dude. They're great. Like I did
Yeah.
like this bass cover of like a Dream. It was like an all bass cover. I love simple songs like that as well. One of my favorite things, honestly, to do on the bass is really just like those songs where it's just
Yeah.
I could literally like just
Of course.
like
I
all
actually
day.
I really like playing rhythm guitar parts for that reason. It's
Yeah,
like sitting in a musical texture and being part of it versus kind of sitting on top of it seems less fun to me.
yeah,
Being
absolutely.
part of the sound world is
Yeah, I'm a
so
bass
much
player,
more
so
fun.
I'm in the
Right.
back. I like to be in the background. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People don't really know me or notice me or whatever. I'm just kind of just back here doing my thing. I love being in the cut. Those are some of my favorite songs to play. And I feel like 80s was like
Uh-huh.
80s is my favorite era of music because I feel
Uh-huh.
like it was so diverse. Like everybody was killing in the 80s. You got your funk, you
Yep.
got your R&B. Well, not so much R&B, but you have like your funk stuff, you have your pop stuff, you
Yeah.
have like your rock stuff. Like it was so vast. Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston, Tears for Fears,
Yeah.
Journey. Like it's so vast. Like
Yeah.
everybody was killing. So yeah, I love the 80s like a
And
lot.
there's this like all this infusion of all sorts of different kinds of music into the pop
Mm,
sphere. Like I just did I wrote a paper about the history of reggae for this
mm.
website, and it's crazy how much influence reggae has had on all sorts of other kinds of music, and the link between reggae and punk music, and then how that moved into rock music, and then the other end reggae and R&B, and it's just crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And
that's my favorite kind of stuff to play is yeah, just kind of I wouldn't say necessarily always simple, but I do like simple music a
yeah.
lot.
Well, there's so much you can do with it, and it feels so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. The groove is the most important thing for me, especially on drums. Like I love playing like just a boom cat, like Smoke on the Water,
Oh
things
man.
like that. Like yeah, those are like some of my favorite songs to play. Like I am so happy to just be sitting here playing. Blondie or whatever kind of things like that,
Yeah,
or 70s Cool in the Gang and Earth, Wind and Fire. Like that's the kind of stuff that I grew
that's
up on.
great.
Basically, that's my favorite. Um, Al Green, Aretha Franklin. Like it's funny, like all of my top five, or most of my top five, like I've had like a top five dream gigs that I
Uh-huh.
want to play. Most of them are like dead or like not gonna happen. So
Damn.
yeah, have an old soul.
Yeah. Well, have you played on any of those the other pit shows that are sort of based on that music? Like there's the Whitney Houston show, there's
No, I haven't played that
Memphis
one.
the
I pretty much
musical.
know like a lot of those people that was on that show.
Oh,
The
okay.
closest that I think I did was just Motown,
Right.
and I played Kinky Boots at the
Oh,
Pantasia.
nice. I just played
So
that
that's
one.
like, oh really?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's actually a really fun show.
that's awesome.
It's a very fun show. 70s like kind of funk stuff. Like that. So I had a blast, and we had a really cool band for that show. The contractor Eric Heinley, he always puts some nice bands together. But
Where was that you said?
the Pantages here in
Oh,
Los Angeles.
sweet. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
I wish it was longer.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a fun one
Yeah,
to play.
but like getting to play with like I sub for the Isley Brothers from time to time. So
That's
that's
insane.
incredible. That's like music that I grew up on that I
Yeah.
never ever thought that I would have an opportunity to play.
Wow.
So yeah, no, I lose my mind every time.
You're like, what is
Like,
going on here?
yeah, no, every time I'm just so ecstatic to be there. I don't care what happens.
That's
I'm just
amazing.
sitting here. Yeah, no, I love it. I love it so much.
Cool, man. Well, thanks so much for talking with me today and
Oh,
playing a
thanks for
little
having
bit.
me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. I hope it was cool. Is there anything in particular that you wanted to mention? It's anything you're working on or where people can
Uh,
find your stuff?
so working on some music with Alma,
Oh, cool.
obviously. Working on some couple tracks with some other people as well, and then yeah, just gonna start trying to do some collabs and get more music out there, basically. Yeah, we was actually talking. She said we thought it'd be like a really cool idea, if you wanted to actually have like both of us on
Yeah,
at the same time to sort of just talk about like artist and producer relationship and like how that kind of thing works or whatever.
that'd be
So
great. I'd love to.
yeah, that'd be really cool. But yeah, just working on that stuff really, and kind of a little bit waiting to see what's gonna happen with all this COVID stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's ending for
Yeah, no,
now.
it's not over yet. Last time I looked outside, it looks pretty,
It
quarantined.
looks pretty COVID-y out there.
Yeah, it looks pretty COVID out there, honestly. But we'll see what happens, man. We're just trying to make it through. How's it been for you?
It's been all right. I've been teaching and recording. Came out with a release a couple of months ago, and I'm working on another one probably
Nice.
January. So
Yeah, people are pumping out music during this time.
yeah, yeah, everybody just trying
Yeah,
to be one of the few or the many.
yeah. But outside of that, just it's going day by day, man.
Yep. Cool. Well, you got an Instagram where you got a lot of cool stuff. YouTube, right?
Yeah, I have Instagram, YouTube. I feel like there's not as much cool stuff on YouTube because I feel like YouTube kind of got like lost by the wayside for some
Yeah.
people. But I should probably put more stuff on there. But there's some things on there.
Yeah. Oh, this
More
will
so
be on YouTube.
performances.
So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Instagram at Chris Thigpen 25. I think the YouTube is I don't even remember. If you look up
You'll
Chris
find it. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it'll definitely show up.
Yeah. Do you have a
Um,
website or anything like that? Or
I don't. I need to get one so I can be like, all professional and stuff.
maybe you don't. I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit of a thing of the past. But
Maybe. I feel like as a producer, I need to get one more so.
uh
But just trying to get myself out there,
yeah,
basically, trying to get that thing to just be more consistent and whatnot.
yeah. Cool. Well, thanks so much for talking with me today. It was fun, and I'd love to do one with you and Alma.
Yeah, absolutely. We love that. And yeah, no, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on and reaching out, man. This has been
Yeah,
really cool.
of course. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Chris Thigpen, look him up. Cool.
I'll be good.
Thanks for listening or watching, depending on whether you are watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast stream. Remember to check out Chris Thigpen's Instagram and other social media. And please leave a comment, and subscribe to this podcast. And if you would like to consider supporting my content generally, please consider visiting my Patreon page. Thanks. Bye.